to see the application of blockchain in the area of health tech, but precisely with the current situation, which is the pandemic we are facing at the moment. So I have the presentation ready. If I can share my screen.
Yes, please.
So please feel free for asking any questions during the presentation. You can put them on chat, and even I think you can unmute and ask this specific question to the relevant topic. So we will be speaking about the blockchain-powered pandemic management system, which is basically a public sector application of blockchain. In the last presentation or discussion, you were hearing from Mr. Khaldoon the application of IoT for that technology. And also he was mentioning that it has to be a collaborative effort. And yes, IoT, like other technologies like AI and blockchain together can serve the humanity to counter this pandemic, because this is a unique situation and it requires unique solutions. So we will be speaking about the application of blockchain. Before going forward, let me give you a brief introduction of mine. I'm a managing director of Avantas Technology Accelerator, part of the Binzayed Group. Also Director Business Development in MAXONROW blockchain platform, advisor to several high prestige quality associations and the governments and private enterprises. I'm also involved in the AI project of Mind AI, trainer for the PwC, and leading the projects of MedsLOCK and DocsLOCK. So briefly, I'll share some insights of MedsLOCK, which is basically a pandemic management system, and giving a good insights will be healthy for everyone's in the discussion today. So this is, since we are going to discuss about blockchain, so this is going to be the chain of discussion I'm going to take forward. The first thing we will be discussing about the journey of blockchain from hype to hope. And then we will take it to the actual point, which is the blockchain powered pandemic management system, its benefits, its challenges, and moving forward, a brief intro about the MedsLOCK suite and how the real application of blockchain is serving the humanity. So first block of this discussion is blockchain from hype to hope. And we all agree on this one point, that the blockchain is certainly the new wave of change. But at the same time, what is basically the deliverable of blockchain? It's a giant platform, a trust for digitization, automation. So generally people are like confined to the centralized bodies for having a trust, but here there is a technology now known as blockchain or DLT. So that's basically the automation of trust. So this is the primary value of blockchain. But at the same time, we can see there is some kind of a barrier for the blockchain to go mainstream, and it's been there for last around decade, and especially for the last 3-4 years, it's been very well known technology in the world. We are not seeing mass adoption or mainstream adoption for this technology. What could be the potential barrier? And that barrier is basically the lack of proper use case. And in case of pandemic management, I think that is something which blockchain was waiting for to go in the mass adoption manner, because pandemic management, in my coming slides, I'll share with you that what are basically the operations involved in the mass level action of pandemic management, and how the blockchain is going to be complementing in that particular operation. So one major drawback for blockchain enterprise companies has been that they were not focusing on the business problem, and they were trying to come up with the technology as its forefront. So they were selling blockchains, but they were not selling solutions. So that's what was required to be reversed, and that's exactly happened with the pandemic. We were thinking loud about the solutions rather than the technology itself. So how the technology can bring solutions to the pandemic, and that's what exactly happened in this case. That we were thinking, we started thinking about how the technology can enable some benefits for this pandemic management. So this is basically what was a very vital to understand for us, that blockchain as a technology has two sides. Just like coin has two sides, blockchain as a technology has two sides. One is the crypto, which is very well known for good or bad reasons. Will not go into that. And that's the application of blockchain for fintech reasons or for the DeFi reasons, decentralized finance reasons. But there is a very strong use case or application of blockchain, which is known as enterprise blockchain solutions. So this is the side of the coin, which I think is more applicable in terms of pandemic. And especially in this period, we were seeking some quality solutions on enterprise blockchain. And that's what we got a few of them, and one of them will be shared in this presentation today. Enterprise blockchain opportunities sector-wise, if we see, this is the research report of Gartner, a well-known research organization. And if you go through with this like a graph, that the best utilization, the most high impact and high feasibility utilization or application of blockchain is with the public sector. So there are so many other like sectors, from retail to healthcare and all that, but you can see the research says that the best application of blockchain, and this research they like came up with, I think, more than 1.5 years back, and now we can see in the area of different government applications, the blockchain is getting used. So this is a true fact that yes, currently enterprise blockchain has its best application with the public sector. Where the public sector can get benefit out of blockchain applications, it is a big enabler for the connecting the dots of ecosystem, and public sector is all about ecosystem. There are multiple organizations, outfits, and public itself needs to be on board. So yes, it's a great enabler, connectivity enabler. And then enhancing the client experience. In this case, the citizens are the clients of public sector services. So yes, of course, it is going to give them a lot of benefit and advantages. Security and integrity of data and workflow automation are also part of the benefit chain. So these are basically the benefits of any blockchain based public operations. Now moving to the next block, which is about the blockchain powered pandemic management system. And of course, there are multiple use cases for blockchain, but how precisely blockchain fits for the pandemic management. For that, we need to understand what are the critical operations in pandemic management are. So you can see the pandemic management, we recently have gathered it through the news and other mediums that yes, contact tracing is very important. Then the quarantine and self-isolation, screening for the infections, clinical management, planning and tracking of the different, you can say, supplies. So it includes medical supplies. It includes the planning, the operations of the entire relief efforts and other things happening. Of course, there is a connectivity involved between the ecosystem. So this cycle of pandemic management operations require the digital tools to run it smoothly and also with the efficiency. So uh, what are the authorities which are dealing with these pandemic management operations? In each country, there are different like state or national level centralized authorities. So I have named few of them for you. So like in UAE, where we are based, National Emergency Crisis and Disaster Management Authority is doing that job. Outbreak Management Team is the authority in the Netherlands, then NCOC in Pakistan. Moving on, Malaysia has the National Security Council. Similarly, each country, I have just named few here in this slide. In fact, in each country, there is like maybe a centralized federal level authority, or at a state or provincial level, there are like several authorities, one or several authorities working for this pandemic operations management. So what are the challenges for these pandemic management authorities? So number one, if you can see, is the privacy breach. Even if they are going to use the digital transformation solution, but of course they will be facing these challenges on their way. So for example, they will be having privacy breaches, they will be having data security problems. Systems are very critical to be on a resilient side. And then, of course, connectivity and validation is required between the ecosystem. Cost reduction is a very important problem which they are facing, because everything we can understand is based on the factor of cost. And similarly, there are other challenges which they are facing. So how we see that the blockchain fits in this puzzle of challenges for the pandemic management authorities, it is if we use it as a feature rather than a sole solution. I totally agree with Khaldun that it's not going to be one technology which is going to solve all of the problems. It is basically going to be multiple technologies, and they all need to complement each other. And for blockchain, we think it's a great enabler, and that's how we are using it. Blockchain as a feature, not just blockchain as a service. So moving forward in the last block of my presentation, I'll be sharing the details how we've been doing it in terms of I'll also have a look in the chat room. Or someone can I'm not having a visibility while doing the presentation, but of course, once I'll be completing my presentation, for sure I'll be coming up with the answers of your questions. So MedsLOCK Suite is the pandemic management system. It is a suite of applications integrated, but at the same time you can use them on a single basis, or they are standalone applications for different stages of pandemic. What do I mean by different stages of pandemic? In coming slide, I'll be also giving some highlight on, of course, there are whenever you are dealing with the pandemic, there are several stages, and you need to come up with the specific solution for the specific stage, or there can be a solution for multiple stages, but at the same time, it has to be addressed in like a stage by stage manner. These are the foundation pillars when we were designing and developing the pandemic management system named as MedsLOCK Suite. So there were many solutions, for example, tracking and tracing, which was basically dealing with the first stage of the pandemic management. So if you can see here, this is actually when I was talking about the different stages of pandemic. So pandemic always has three stages. First one is the response, and then is the recovery. Most of the world is now out of the response stage and is in the recovery stage. And also there will be the next stage, that will be the prevention of the next outbreak, which currently we are facing as a world in general, that we are like forcing at the moment a new wave of this pandemic. And of course we have to prevent the next influenza kind of pandemic waves as well, which could be something else than the COVID-19. So MedsLOCK basically is designed to support the decision makers in all three stages of pandemic management. It has different applications addressing for different stages: response, recovery, and prevention. In coming slides, I'll come to that. It is a data-driven approach we have taken. That why pandemic hit us very badly, especially with the COVID-19 pandemic I'm talking about, because we were in dark, we were not having much of the data available. So that data darkness basically was a basic impact on the organizations, on the authorities, on the governments to deal it in a very unstructured way, in a very unplanned way, and in a very, like we can say, initially it was not a very professional way how they dealt it. But gradually, if you see, they collected a lot of data through digital means, and of course they are using their own set of pandemic management systems. So that is basically giving them a lot of insights to this, how they can effectively and efficiently deal with this pandemic. So in case of MedsLOCK Suite, again, the pillar was the data. So starting from the acquisition of data, sharing it between the authorities, between the ecosystem. Because when I say ecosystem, pandemic is not been handled or basically not been managed by just one authority. There is a healthcare authority, there are operational authorities, procurement authorities, uh, and law enforcement authorities, for example, even including the aviation side as well for the travel. Such like a mass status ecosystem requires effective sharing of the data, acquisitions between them, the sharing between them, and then the security part, the privacy of the data. We are dealing with the very critical data here is basically healthcare data of the citizens. So we have a dual responsibility here. It's healthcare data and it is a citizen's data. So the privacy has to be of prime importance. And of course, once we have this all quality data, we need to have quality analytics to prevent the next outbreak or to handle this current one in a very, very effective way. And the third pillar of our like MedsLOCK suite was integration driven. So we were not thinking just that there could be one technology of a blockchain which will be serving for humanity for saving lives and plus enabling the quicker economic recovery. It has to be an integrated effort between the technologies, AI, blockchain, legacy technologies, and so on and so forth. Similarly, resources has to be integrated within the authorities, within the public itself, and of course, virtual and physical as well. And finally, the processes have to be very much working in an integration manner so that they bring the best for their optimized results. So these were the three pillars which we believe that before designing or developing the pandemic management system, we were thinking that they are required to come up with the solid stuff. Now, if you can see what MedsLOCK as a pandemic management system offers, I briefly shared that these are basically standalone but yet integrated applications in one suite of applications. So starting from the very basic, which is the healthcare or the clinical record stuff. So MedsLOCK here basically does that. So it is going to take forward things to the information management system. So you can see it covers from then onwards to supply chain management, relief management, and welfare activities tracking, some kind of integrator between, because we believe that when the pandemic operations are happening, they are happening with the different authorities and with different departments in public sector and private sector. So they need a common platform, a common dashboard, at least for the decision makers or centralized decision makers, so that they can have a, a common dashboard for visibility of what is happening, so that they can take insightful actions. Credential issuance or e-certificate issuance is also very vital in this pandemic management. It's not been happening till now. Unfortunately, we have not seen many of the like such things. But yes, of course, when you get tested, if you are positive and negative, I think there should be a blockchain-based system that has to be like authenticity to the person, that yes, that person has been tested positive, but with the treatment he or she is now negative, and they can travel safely. You get tested, and there is every airline or every country has different policy of 3 to 4 days of validity of that test or COVID test, PCR test. So you can have that on your blockchain based system, which cannot be tampered, which cannot be again, there's a big resilience in that. So that credential can be taken to the airport and you can travel safely and easily with that. Track and traceability applications are lacking basically the privacy factor. There is a lot of visibility to the private data, where individuals are moving, what they are like doing. So if you are having those track and traceability applications on blockchain, again, a lot of encryption will happen, cryptographic encryption will happen. That will save this big issue of privacy breach. Then there are some artificial intelligence and blockchain based applications which will help the researchers, which will help the healthcare authorities and the central authorities to do the more accurate disease diagnosis and plus tracking the disease progression. For example, if you want to track what is happening on the lungs on the day one of any patient, and what is the progression of that disease on the lungs on day 3, day 5, and when it is finishing from the patient itself. So you can do a lot of those artificial intelligence based estimations, predictions, and that will definitely be helpful in the third stage of the pandemic, and which is basically the prevention stage. And finally, you can do the system on blockchain. You need to do a lot of, again, planning, procurement, and targeted distribution based on priority. And then, of course, you have to track the results. For example, there could be multiple administration shots you have to apply to the public. Maybe one will not be like enough. So you have to track them, and you have to track the results of those vaccination shots. So this is basically architecture which will be serving the centralized authorities in terms 360-degree, you can say, from the very beginning, from the healthcare side to the prevention side, and of course it is covering different stages of the pandemic as well. Uh, I can like briefly go through with this demo clip where you can see it's how it has been happening in an actual manner. This is how the MedsLOCK is doing the medical diagnosis, and how it is going to serve that purpose. Lab tests, again, also you can see this screenshot, screen capture we did with our application, and that's how it has been doing. Similarly, there is how you can assign the logistics, how you can do the stock keeping, and health certificate issuance as well. Briefly, we will go with that clip as well before moving forward. What are the actual benefits of pandemic management system on blockchain? So these are the ones. For example, I was discussing with the challenges of for the central authorities, how what kind of a challenges they need to address, and basically blockchain is enabler to for them to like counter a lot of those challenges. For example, enhanced connectivity between the government and the general public and the various organizations, where digital integrated system with integrity also. It's not going to be pilfered by the hackers, and since it is a resilient system, that will be helpful as well. Elimination of conflicting records. Many of the countries are handling pandemic in the way that they are using different applications, and those different applications are capturing similar data. A lot of data redundancy is there. A lot of conflict record keeping is there. So if the records or the entire operations are coming on one application or suite of applications, then of course this will be eliminated. Execution of preventive responses with the predictive models and applications, that of course will come through AI, but we are coming with the democratized AI application with the blockchain. So that is a big benefit to the pandemic management for this with this blockchain. It is delivering tangible results in terms of monitoring, and of course handling the critical things in the pandemic operations, and reducing the operational expenses, because once you are using open source technologies, there are no annual licenses, and the operational expenditures gets reduced, which is again authorities of the governments to use the digital solutions. Heightened data interoperability between the system and reconciliation. Again, when you are handling the situation like pandemic, a lot of reconciliation is happening, a lot of synchronization of operations, workflows, and data operability is required. So it is going to serve them all in this regard. How you can do the scalability once, of course, the pandemic is going to finish, inshallah, soon. We all are praying and expecting that it's going to happen soon. So how you can reuse or scale this kind of a pandemic management system? So there are again multiple things how you can scale it up. You can come up with the nationwide e-health record system on blockchain, which will again be bringing a lot of integrity to the system and in totality. You can have a holistic centralized supply chain management platform that most of the governments are doing a lot of procurements, and with this going forward, they can scale it up to the national or centralized supply chain management platform. Overall, a crisis response mechanism, because pandemic is one type of crisis, but there are other types of crisis as well. So you can scale it up to the next level, and that is how you can do the crisis response mechanism for your country or for your region. Issuance and the government issuance and the governance platform, like you can use it for the issuance of certificates, NOCs. Similarly, a lot of other things the government authorities are issue uh, as like the registration certificates. uh, those all can be performed on a single platform in this way. And of course it can be used as a global platform for the research platform for the next pandemic or overall for other purposes. Well, data is the new oil, and if you are not like using it properly, of course, at a global level, of course, it's not going to be serving the humanity in totality. So this is from my side, how the blockchain-powered pandemic management system is enabling the quicker economic recovery, and also it is serving the humanity in terms of, we can say, uh, saving lives. So thank you from my side. I'm open to now take questions. This is how you can reach us, and we can discuss further as well. But now I think I should be seeing the chat room where we have some questions coming in.
Thank you, Salman. It was a great presentation. If there are any questions from the audience, feel free to ask or type in the chat window.
Hi, Salman. One question, please, for you. I understand blockchain is definitely providing a lot of responses to auditability and non-repudiation. It is meant to replace a centralized authority. However, from an accountability perspective, don't you think that by migrating healthcare information with personal identifiable information to be managed mainly through blockchain, trusting the technology, is a little bit premature without an agreed upon accountability authority? Thank you.
Thank you very much for this. I think very good question, because I think it's very relevant to our discussion for the technology and for its use case as well. For example, as you mentioned that the technology is still, we are considering technology to replace the centralized authority. That is what the general view about blockchain is. And we are going to demonstrate that this is not going to happen very soon. And this is not the ideal use case of blockchain. It has to be used to complement the centralized authority for its trust enhancement. Like where we are lacking in the humanity basically is that the centralized authority, our governments, our banks, where a lot of blockchain people, they say, yes, we need to replace them because they are inefficient, they are not trustworthy. That's not going to be happening, because since the inception of humanity, they love to have someone elder, someone centralized to play the role of trustworthiness. We were using our tribal system for that before, like few hundred years before, and now for last few hundred years we are using states, centralized authorities, banks, institutions for playing that role. They lack trust, no doubt about that. They lack efficiency, no doubt about that. Technology, and especially the technologies like blockchain, whose DNA is basically providing the trust, enabling the trust. So if we provide centralized authorities like banks, financial institutions, government institutions, the blockchain technology, their trust factor for their services, for their operations on the public will get enhanced. Within the ecosystem get enhanced. Their efficiency will be more enhanced because of the automation. So it enables. So that's our take on blockchain. We consider it is a great enabler to enhance the trust on the centralized authority. I don't see the blockchain replacing the centralized authorities or replacing the intermediaries, which is a very big myth, I believe. So thank you very much for asking this question. I hope I have answered this in a, like a precise manner, that we don't believe in this as a like a blockchain service provider. I've been in this space for the last 4 years, and you have seen in the very beginning of my introduction that I'm practically involved. I'm not someone who is coming bringing this knowledge from the articles or books. Been breathing blockchain for last 4 years in different projects and different territories. So our conclusion is that centralized authorities are here to stay. Blockchain can bring a lot of like trust and can bring a lot of efficiency for their operations.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Salman, for the great presentation. Any other questions from the audience? Okay, that's all. Thanks a lot, Salman, and it was a pleasure listening to your presentation. Thank you.
Pleasure is all mine. Thank you very much for the invitation, and stay blessed, everyone, wherever you guys are.
Sure. Thank you.